Starfield, the newest Bethesda game release, is just around the block, and as many of you know, it has promised to become the next great title by the acclaimed studio. Speculation about the game is through the roof, some claiming it to be the next big bust, while others consider Starfield to take the crown as the next great Bethesda release. Welcome back to our channel, gamers. Recently, we discussed GTA 6 and the details we currently know about it. Since looking at what one of the premier developers in the gaming industry, Rockstar, were up to, I thought it would be a good idea to examine the activity of another renowned studio in Bethesda software. That being said, it's time to talk about Bethesda's latest project, Starfield. With the studio's track record, it's difficult not to get excited for a hopefully memorable new addition to a series of iconic games. Spare a like and you'll receive the gift of charity perk. See what I did there? Now, let's get into the details. Each of Bethesda's previous games have had quite memorable worlds for the player to explore. Starfield appears to follow the same trend. The title is set to take place in a futuristic human civilization going by the name of the Settled Systems. This area is inhabited by two major factions teetering between war and peace, the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective. The cities in this new and cryptic region are only partially known. New Atlantis takes its spot as the capital of the United Colonies, and the Freestar Collective is led by Akila City with its walls built to protect from a mysterious velociraptor wolf species that has been terrorizing the city. Could New Atlantis be foreshadowing a dubious demise of the UC capital? Only time will tell. While the cities may point to an at-large civilization in the Settled Systems, this may very well not be the case. Evidently, the player will be harassed by eclectic mercenaries, pirates of the Crimson Fleet, violent spacers, or even fanatical religious zealots of House Maroon. By all accounts, this new galaxy is not nearly as safe as it would first appear. As in previous games, like Skyrim and Fallout 4, Starfield will have a plethora of factions that the player will be able to align with. The faction system will function very similarly to Skyrim's, with most of the groups being independently playable. The main faction is known as Constellation, a group of explorers searching for someone or something. What exactly are they searching for, and will they find the answers? The size of the universe that Starfield will take place in is also said to be undeniably large. Around 1,000 explorable planets are expected, some handcrafted and some procedurally generated. Around 100 of said planets are assumed to contain life, with the other portion being a place to find resources, set up bases, we'll mention that later, and, knowing Bethesda, uncover mysteries. Overall, the expanse known as the Settled Systems seem to have a little more than expected when it comes to the amount we will have to explore. After examining the things we know about the setting of Starfield, major elements that made games like Skyrim and Fallout so memorable are also going to shape the landscape of this new title. A faction-centered expanse with more to see than meets the eye really goes well with Bethesda's ability to craft a story, where the player will get sidetracked for potentially hours trying to uncover the truths that lie within each planet. In many of the games released by Bethesda over the years, the tools and items the player gets to use heavily determine the playstyle and experience the user has. The outlook on this aspect of Starfield is extremely promising. Along with the usual unique weapons and artifacts, the upcoming title promises to add much more customization to the selection of ships and guns this time around. Spaceships are an integral part of any spacefaring game, and the system Bethesda is expected to implement in Starfield has fans on the edges of their seats. The ships will not be collected like items in other games developed by the studio. Instead, they're to be built through collectible modules in any manner the player sees fit. This will allow for a truly unique and immersive experience each time you pick up the game. Guns and other armaments also seem to follow the same trend. Different muzzles, barrels, grips, and optics, among other parts of the player's weaponry, will be able to be modified to the user's liking. Along with the ability to craft your own ship, this feature seems to hint that Starfield may very well be one of the most flexible and non-linear Bethesda games to date. Character creation always has its impact on a Bethesda game. Starfield seems to bring much of the same versatility and customization as provided by other titles published by the studio. The protagonist of this story will be able to be tweaked and adjusted to the player's visual preferences. Following this, you'll be able to select the background of the character, a feature similar to assigning perks in Fallout or picking a specific race in Skyrim. The options we know of, but surely aren't limited to, so far, are Combat Medic, Bouncer, Professor, and Homesteader, among others. As expected, our protagonist will also be able to acquire and remove traits as they progress through the story. Each trait will have an upside and a downside. Think of a house which must be paid for weekly, or a stat increase that's balanced by the decrease of another. If the downside's too great, Each trait will feature a side quest to remove itself. These traits, and more, all serve for an even more personalized journey through the settled systems. An unexpected twist to our Starfield character comes in the form of magic. I reason that this wouldn't be present similarly to the Fallout series. However, apparently space magic will be included, as seen in a clip that was shown in the Starfield Direct showcase. In the video, our character turns off gravity in a hallway with an outstretched hand to disorient a group of enemies. This adds even more intrigue to the mysterious new universe of Starfield. Familiar progression system will be in place upon release, skill points being earned through leveling up by earning XP completing various tasks. This sort of fills one of the checkmarks for any good Bethesda game, system where you'll decide which skills and playstyle your character adapts. Combined with other features previously discussed, this could lead to an incredibly flexible role-playing experience. Let's discuss some of the mechanics being included in Starfield. Typical lockpicking, pickpocketing, and persuading will work similarly to the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series mechanics we all know. In short, expect a lot of familiar game mechanics, although they may be more refined. Joining factions will also be allowed in Starfield. I would expect certain perks and drawbacks to arise from joining any particular faction, or traits as they get called in this universe. Base building similar to the Fallout series will also be present in-game. The combination of factions and bases will continue to add layers of depth into an already very customizable experience. NPC companions will, of course, be included in Starfield as well. We've learned a lot about potential companions, namely that Vasco, Sarah Morgan, and Barrett will be our primary options. A new twist to this old feature comes in the form of crewmates, a group of NPCs that can be recruited to work exclusively on board your private vessel. Piracy, anyone? Speaking of companions, unfortunately we won't be able to bring any along from real life. As with other Bethesda titles, Starfield will not feature multiplayer. Maybe if modding becomes as prominent as it did with Skyrim, we could get a modded multiplayer, but as of right now I don't see it happening for a long time. I guess we'll have to experience Starfield in the classic Bethesda way as well, by ourselves. Unlike our GTA 6 discussion, we have a precise date on which Starfield is scheduled to be released. The game was originally scheduled to drop on the 11th of November 2022, but there were delays as it's common nowadays. As of this video's release, Starfield's being prepared for a launch day of September 6th, 2023. Looks like we'll have this novel Bethesda project on our systems within the next month. As for the price and platform of Starfield, the game appears to cost $70 to purchase on day one, unfortunately typical price in 2023. Ever since Bethesda was acquired by Microsoft for $7.5 billion, new release games by the studios are released only on Microsoft-supported platforms, sorry PlayStation users. One benefit of this, however, is that Starfield will also be a Day 1 Game Pass item. If you want to easily pick this up for a playthrough, I'd recommend getting the $1 month of Game Pass on your computer and just playing the game until that expires. Good luck getting your hands on this new title. Well, that wraps up our discussion of the upcoming Bethesda game, Starfield. The game promises to be another adventure in the style of Skyrim and Fallout, with exciting new additions that we can all get hyped for. I'll definitely be picking this game up to uncover the inevitable secrets that'll be hidden within. Thanks so much for staying until this point in the video. I mentioned the hype behind Grand Theft Auto 6 earlier in the video, a game in development by another great studio, Rockstar Games. If you're interested in hearing about how GTA 6 is coming along, click the video on the screen. Thanks again, and enjoy your day.